Welcome to Singapore, the elegant lion of Southeast Asia. Famous for its glittering skyscrapers, luxurious private jets, and gleaming Rolls-Royces. The country is a world leader in education and security, and stands out as one of Asia's leading technological and financial centers, proudly forming part of the Asian Tigers. However, behind this glamorous facade lies a lesser-known Singapore. In addition to the achievements, there are the challenges faced by migrants, the rising cost of living, and the strict control of public freedoms. Nicknamed Disneyland with a death penalty, this nation, although considered one of the safest in the world, still has the mafia working behind its back. If you are curious to know more about this duality, join us. This video will reveal fascinating tidbits and explore the lesser-known and not-so-beautiful side of this unique nation. Singapore is a modern and fascinating place, especially because of its exemplary organization. Officially known as the Republic of Singapore, with only 715 square kilometers, the country is an island city-state, which means it is a city, a capital, and a country at the same time. The iconic symbol of the city is the merlion, a figure with the head of a lion and the body of a fish. This representation not only reflects the origin of the city's name, but also its history as an ancient fishing village. Known as the Pearl of Asia, Singapore is home to 5.6 million inhabitants and stands out as one of the world's largest financial center. The country is known for generating millionaires and being one of the most expensive places to live, according to a study by the Economist Intelligence Unit. With a rich cultural diversity, Singapore's population is made up of Chinese, Malay, and Indian descendants, as well as a large foreign community. This cultural mix is reflected in the country's official communication, which is conducted in 4 languages: English, Chinese, Malay, and Tamil, a South Indian language. Despite being a business center and having an urban landscape full of skyscrapers, Singapore also stands out as one of the greenest cities in the world. With 17 nature reserves and several gardens, almost half of its territory is dedicated to nature. Among the must-see attractions are Gardens by the Bay, with its greenhouses that reproduce climates from around the world, the emblematic botanical gardens, the imposing Singapore Flyer, and the famous Marina Bay Sands. The latter goes beyond being a hotel, becoming a leisure complex with shopping malls, restaurants, and an incredible rooftop pool. But 50 years ago, Singapore was a poor island with few natural resources that did not promise a great or promising future. However, in the 19th century, Singapore went from being a simple fishing village to becoming a vital point of world trade thanks to its strategic location. With the opening of the Suez Canal in 1869, the city flourished in the rubber trade. Chinese immigration was a crucial catalyst for this development. Attracted by the opportunities offered by its strategic position and its status as a free port, the Chinese contributed to the growth of the region. However, this migration also brought challenges, giving rise to secret societies such as the Hui, initially created to offer support to immigrants, but which, over time, evolved into involvement in criminal activities. World War II brought a dramatic turn of events. The Japanese occupation from 1942 to 1945 was followed by the British return, marking a period of intense conflict. After the war, Singapore became an independent British colony in 1946. Only in 1959 did it gain autonomy, and 6 years later it seceded from the Federation of Malaya, emerging as a sovereign city-state. At that time, the country faced significant challenges, including poverty, crime, and shortages of basic resources such as water and energy. After gaining independence and leaving British rule behind, Singapore emerged as an autonomous state under the leadership of Lee Kuan Yew, who served as Prime Minister for more than 3 decades and was the architect of the so-called economic miracle. Lee Kuan Yew implemented a comprehensive reform program to lift the country out of what he described as a black hole of misery and degradation, transforming it into a modern industrialized nation based on a capitalist model with strict state control. Singapore's strategic location played an important role in its rise, and it became a key trade route between giants such as China, India, and Southeast Asia. In addition, the country's tax haven status has provided a business-friendly environment, attracting many foreign investors. Since the late 1960s, the government has launched major programs to create jobs and build social housing, which has further boosted its economic development. An interesting fact about this island is that most of the housing is built by the government, and 80% of the population lives in these accommodations. And although the country has a reputation for generating millionaires, the vast majority of single adults live with their parents. And now you're wondering why, right? Are they lazy? Actually, neither, at least most of them. It turns out that there is a rule that prohibits most single Singaporeans from buying a public housing apartment, unless they are at least 35 years old. Also, to cope with population growth, Singapore has put in place some interesting measures, such as raising taxes on families with more than 2 children. The laws here are strict, so don't be surprised if you visit the country and see signs around town with a list of prohibitions. Crossing out of the proper place, a fine. Repeat it 3 times, it can even mean jail time. And watch out on the subway. Eating and drinking is forbidden, especially if the treat is the famous durian, a fruit with such a strong smell that it resembles a wet sock with a strong odor. Fines are imposed on those who defy this rule. And last but not least, avoid going nude indoors or singing obscene lyrics. This is considered pornography in the country. If you walk around the house naked, you will be fined. And if you sing anything considered obscene, you can spend up to 3 months in jail. Unfortunately, being homosexual in this country is still considered a criminal offense, and same-sex couples face the threat of up to 2 years in jail. A law that has persisted since Lee Kuan Yew's tenure and, until recently, was even punishable by death. Lee Kuan Yew molded Singapore into a one-party state, arguing that the Western model of liberal democracy was not applicable to a developing country, and under his leadership, stricter control of individual freedoms was established. Today, Singapore boasts an image of modernity and prosperity, with low levels of corruption and crime. However, this reality is only experienced by citizens and permanent residents, while immigrants, who make up 40% of the working population, are practically invisible in statistics and social programs. The policy of controlling private life and suppressing individual freedoms raises questions, such as the imprisonment of opponents without trial and the use of corporal punishment, which reveal a lesser-known and more controversial side of this island. In Singapore, laws have a unique approach and depart from some democratic principles. In 1970, for example, trial by jury was abolished, concentrating decisions in the hands of appointed judges. The country adopts corporal punishment, whipping and flogging, as well as caning with bamboo poles, for crimes such as rape, rioting, vandalism, and illegal immigration. The death penalty is a reality for aggravated homicide and drug trafficking, with frequent executions, some of which generate international controversy and criticism. In August 2023, for example, a 39-year-old man was hanged for carrying 54 grams of heroin, becoming the 3rd prisoner executed in 15 days for drug-related offenses. These executions are just a few examples of cases that frequently make headlines, fueling debates about the strict application of the death penalty in the country. While Amnesty International highlights the legal conflicts, the Singapore government maintains a firm stance in defense of capital punishment. Triads, predominantly Chinese criminal organizations, have seen their activities decline as a result of these strict penalties. In the midst of Singapore's turmoil, youth groups have been emerging since the 1970s to find ways to survive illegally. Clandestine loans and drug trafficking are part of their lives, marked by violence as a form of protection. 2 groups stand out: the Hai San Secret Society and Salakau. The Hai San, with international connections, has gained notoriety for smuggling and even influencing the US market. The Salakau, called the 369, has a more corporate structure and accepts diverse members, including Indians and Malays. They engage in illegal gambling, brothels, and usury, and are the subject of rumors of political corruption. Despite the Salakau's business facade, they have a history of bloody wars and do not hesitate to protect their interests with ruthlessness and violence. Gang rivalry persists to this day, reflecting a current scenario in Singapore. The transition to cyberspace has brought challenges, such as attacks on the Ministry of Defense and financial losses to companies in 2017. And in this labyrinth, secret societies have been adapting and using the dark web for illegal transactions, taking advantage of encryption to make tracking difficult. Still, in 2011, Singapore was recognized by the World Justice Project's Rule of Law Index as a leader in order and security, absence of corruption, and effective criminal justice. However, the country received lower scores in areas such as freedom of expression and freedom of assembly. All public gatherings of 5 or more people require police authorization. Due to the authoritarian political system, Singapore has only one trade union, the government-linked National Trades Union Congress, and its general secretary is also an MP for the People's Action Party, the ruling party in 2023. This disparity is partly explained by the ruling party's considerable control over the electoral process. For example, Singapore's electoral department is within the Prime Minister's office and operates with a lack of transparency, rather than having an independent body. Press freedom is tightly controlled, and a law called the Protection from Lying and Manipulation Act was implemented in 2019, which deems interpretations unfavorable to the government as lies. In the Press Freedom Index, they rank 153rd, behind countries known for their problems with freedom of expression, such as Russia, Burma, and Zimbabwe. For reporters who displease the government, things can get serious, with the risk of having their computers confiscated and passports frozen. Civil society participation in politics is very low, and government structures are molded to stifle critical voices. Any publication that dares to express discontent with the government is immediately censored and criminalized. Want examples? The right to strike is enshrined in the Constitution, but in practice, it's a different story. Workers risk ending up behind bars if they choose to protest. Activists who raise their voices against the death penalty are closely watched. And to illustrate how this works in practice, in 2015, a teenager named Amos Yee was sentenced to 4 weeks in prison for expressing criticism of the minister on a social network. After his release, he spent another 2 weeks in a mental health institute on medical advice. Although it remains a challenge, collaboration between the public and government agencies is gradually improving. Some of the stricter rules imposed by the government are beginning to be relaxed. Chewing gum, for example, used to be banned, but has recently been allowed, although no one can find where to buy it. If these changes continue, perhaps one day Singapore will be able to savor the taste of a freer democracy. This is the hidden face that defies official statistics and breaks with the glamour that today is held up as an example. Did you know all these peculiarities of Singapore? Tell us which one surprised you the most. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to receive more amazing content. Thanks to all of you who have joined us, and until next time.